Hello, Froggy here, and today I'll be showing you how to get into the Crota boss arena. Now I know what you're thinking, we don't fight Crota in Destiny 2, at least not yet. But we do fight Nightmare Crota in the Beyond mission that you go through on the moon. So we're going to be heading there. As you can imagine, something so ridiculous requires the use of the interdimensional res breach. And we're going to need 2 of them. For this you're going to want 3 people. 1 to hit the Autoreses, 1 to act as insurance, and another person to do the full route. The ghost spots for this were discovered by Mad Henry and jjreptile, and I can definitely say that they are the closest that we've ever had. It is very close to not really being doable, but they found a way. So this is our first ghost spot. We'll be using this to get out of Sorrow's Harbor, because the spot that we need to set our ghost is a little bit above the map ceiling. Once you've respawned, you can head back to Sorrow's Harbor. That's the load that we'll need to die to, and I find it easiest to do that from Enduring Abyss. Plus, we're going to have to go there later anyway, so we might as well do it now while the stakes are lower. We just need a couple of nades to climb up the side of this. No sparrow flying, because can't have sparrows in this version of Sorrow's Harbor. And when you get up to the top, there'll be a little ledge you can stand on. You can skip the last nade since you can stand on the edge here. The ground to the right is intangible, and you can just drop right through to get to these little ledges on the side of the walkway. And jump up on the hallway that goes off to Scarlet Keep, and then cross over to the left side. I like sword flying here, but you can also just jump directly onto the drop for the pit, and then jump across. But if you sword fly, you can just gain back the height on the other side and not have to climb. We'll be hitting the load on the right side here by these flat rocks. Once we do that, we just turn around and head to the open end of this hallway. You don't need to sword fly for this either, but you do need to jump over the bend to skip the load. Don't go too far in and stick to the right side here. Line up with the edge and run in and you should die. Although if you don't, it's pretty easy to try again. You just need to walk back down the corridor a little ways. If you go too far, you'll hit the load and it'll be a bit darker, but there's a giant hole you can just jump straight out of. You can hit it in the other load, it's just a little darker. And back to where we were. At this point, you can have your Autorez person hit the first Autorez by dropping into the pit. As soon as they get to the bottom, you should be out of the box. Now we need to go to the second ghost location. The Autorez person can begin setting up the first encounter. Though be warned, if they die, you will have to restart, because everyone will be pulled in with the wipe. Now, the funny part about this area is that there is no suitable ground to set our ghost on. However, that's okay, because Guardians make their own ground. We actually need to be a bit above where Bach is, and perhaps a little bit further out. You're going to want to lower your light for part of this, so have something ready for that. You can jump out here and throw a stasis nade. If you're smart, you might use salvation script here for more accurate placement. Ideally you want one vertical, but as Bach shows here, you can get it on a horizontal one as well with ricochet rounds. If you don't get the res fast enough, the ghost will move back onto land. So this is about what you want to see. Since Bach is higher light, I can hit this ice quite a few times without breaking it. Then Bach's going to get my res, and our ghost is set. All we have to do now is the trickiest part. We need to re-enter the box without dying. This is why we have our insurance policy. I definitely messed up on the first try. For best chances at success, you want to go in from above. And you want to do whatever speedy tricks you can to get past here. If you die to that load, it doesn't actually matter, because that isn't a true death, as they say. It won't interfere with your ghost placement. So now we just gotta do this part again. Same as before, just a couple of grenades will get you up. If you die at this part, you'll have to do the first IRB again. But as long as you have someone out of box there, you won't need to use another res point. Also, you're going to want to have your ice climbing armor back on. Whoops. Well, you can break your crystals faster if you're at lower light. There are some downsides, which won't come up until a bit later. This jump plays out about the same way, just higher stakes for failure. We just cross back over again. And I'm once again doing the starting my flight high to gain the height back. Except this time, instead of hitting the load outside of the map, we want to be in the map. We can't do the usual dying after we hit the load for obvious reasons, but that massive hole goes both ways. And at this point, we just have to walk the full route to the pyramid ship. No sparrows for us. But if I speed up the footage, you won't notice that I definitely made some wrong turns in that cave. Back through one of the most memorable parts of the campaign there. And in case you've missed it, you can just slide through these barriers here. It's like they're not even there at all. So once you get to the end of this pathway here, I want to take a moment to reflect on how if you mess this part up, you have to start all over again. There are two choices here. The hard way, which would be flying through the narrow opening and then stasis climbing up at the end of the inside of the pyramid ship. Or the easier way, which is where I'm heading to. I checked that you don't even need to sword fly if you're going this route. You have enough height to drop, and once you get far enough, the game will actually funnel you into the right spot. There is an intangible section on the side of this ship, and we can use it to get out of map in the next area. At about this distance, it will just glide you into place if you fall, as long as you're not moving too fast. You want to go past this little overcrop here, and there'll be a little area of land you can step on, and right around there, you just turn right and go straight through the wall. Kind of like that. Ideally, you'll keep your height here. Stay away from the hallway to the right, though, because it's covered in death barriers. If you're too low, you'll end up on the lower section of this, but you can always climb up the side using your sword for assistance. There is an invisible slope leading to a second tier of invisible ceiling, and a visible lip that you can jump up on. We don't want to hit the load here, though, so you're going to want to jump out a little bit and land on the little ledge that's sticking out. From here, we're going to drop to the one just below it. There's a little shelf. And we're going to die to the load right at that staircase. So we're just going to hug the ceiling and go right into it. And we're there! Now, you can take a moment to enjoy the view. But if you didn't manage to get it correctly, say you went a little bit too far forwards, hope is not lost. You can actually recover from this. You just need to jump back up the way you came. And from here you technically could stasis climb all the way up that, but it's kind of high and stasis climbing is kind of boring, so let's see what else we can do. And just follow the path back around here. Don't worry about the screen going white. The bouncy walls are on the inside. We just make our way to these helpfully leveled little pillars, and we can climb up to the top. At this point, you definitely want to check to make sure that you are at light, because there's a boss out here. Good old Nightmare Ghaul. He won't bother you too much because he doesn't leave his post, but if you have the wrong armor on, you might instantly die, and at that point you would have to start over. So you want to be very careful here, because if you step onto that, nothing happens and you're fine. But now we are significantly higher up. Well, higher than that shows, because there's another rooftop there, but you'll see. It only takes like 1 or 2 grenades to get up here. Yep, very short distance. Though it is a bit hard to see, so let's get some light. And away we go. It only takes 3 crystals to get your grenade back, but you know, might as well break 4. Should be all the height we need. And we're good. We just want to head back over the walkway. Ah, the Ghaul arena. That one would take quite a lot of doing to get to. Just fall down this slope here and jump out a little bit so you don't die to that load. It wouldn't ruin the run, but it would mean that you'll have to climb up out of the pyramid ship and try that whole thing again. So once we've sorted up the side, which will work with an empty sword, so no ammo worries there, we just jump back down and try that again. It is very consistent if you're hugging the ceiling. So, just want to make sure that when you go for the approach that you're able to do that. Don't feel too bad about aborting it. And there we go. If that had been the actual run, the ghost would have been here. Once your ally finishes first encounter, you'll res in. So you'll see there's kind of a little dip down in the terrain here. This is the height it would need to be if you were to IRB from the ground that we were standing on earlier, but it ends before the dip. So you have to use a stasis crystal to get a little farther out and a little higher up. But we've made it here. And now we can enjoy the scenery. It is rather red. I don't remember if it was quite this extreme back during Shadowkeep, but then again, the lighting engine has changed since then. I checked with Bach, and it really doesn't look like there's any other suitable spot to IRB from. At least not without managing to place stasis in the air. So this was quite an exciting find. I can't wait to see what we manage to get into next. Hopefully you enjoy getting out here whenever you want instead of being at the mercy of the campaign cycle.